Hello and welcome to Thursday. We get to continue on in a journey together through Hosea's story as he's living out the story of Israel and their God, Yahweh. And they are called the people of God. You know, we hail back to something we covered several weeks ago when we talked about Solomon's words to Israel. And he said, if my people, which are called by my name. So there is a very special relationship because of a very specific covenant where of all of the nations upon the earth, which at one point the number was fixed at 70 or 72. I know that it's nearly 200 now. But think of it as regions. Think of it as dividing up the earth into equal pieces, and within that there are people who live. And there is a people that have been selected out very specifically above and beyond that, a people that somewhat transcend that, and they are called the people of Israel. They are the chosen people, that God did not choose them because they were extra special. Because God chose them, this makes them different from all the people on the earth. And yet they're as hard-headed and stubborn as any other person upon the earth. And we get to see all of this worked out. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in to the return, Hosea's story. And he has the unique distinction of getting to play the part of God. Now we're going to move a little bit further on this Thursday into this 2 verses and consider this, meditate upon this, get a takeaway for today. I will remove the names of the Baals or the Baals from their lips. No longer will their names be invoked. What kind of things need to happen? What kind of heart change needs to occur before someone doesn't want to speak of something anymore? They have to become thoroughly convinced that that thing which had captured their attention, captivated their heart, and as a result spilled out in their everyday speech, that it somehow has to be superseded. You have to go beyond it somehow. I'm reminded as a kid growing up, those things that I constantly talked about because I really wanted them. I really wanted to obtain it. I wanted to get it for birthday, and I constantly talked about it because I felt like if I talked about it all the time, then eventually somebody would catch on and I would get it. But how many times did I get something that I asked for and begged and talked about and talked up, and then I found it wasn't everything it was cracked up to be? This is the process here. This is not like Men in Black, where a little red light on a little black technical object is waved in front of somebody's eyes and then they no longer remember something so they don't speak of it. No, this is something that is dealt with. It is superseded. There's an other revelation which is given, which is superior to that which was seen before. Something's going to happen. God is promising that He's going to take them out of their land. He's going to deal with them. He's going to speak to them, and it's going to result in the names of the false gods being removed from their speech. No longer will their names be invoked. And here's what's implied. It's not because of fear or terror, but because something else has been revealed. So I'm going to reveal to you what the something else is. The heart of God, His tender mercies and His passion have to come through in a revelation in order to win the human heart and supersede the tendency of the human heart towards idolatry. There's no greater cure for the idolatry of the human heart than a very powerful vision of the reality of the love and the passion of God. And this is the concept that is hardest for humanity to get. And it's obviously hard for the people of Israel to buy into. So I want to kind of read between the lines and connect with that, and then go on with some promise. In that day, so he's speaking in the future, in that day, off in the future. And by the way, that day is still in the future. There's no reason to conclude that this day he is speaking of has yet been reached. So this means that that day that he's speaking of is still ahead of Israel. And then it's yet ahead of those who are, by faith in Jesus Christ, the son of David, a member of the tribe of Judah, the one by whom we believe and are grafted in to the family of Jacob, that there is yet ahead of us a great promise, that there is something that's actually physically going to happen for the land of Israel. And of course, it is going to be a great joy. The Apostle Paul implies this in the book of Romans when he talks about if the unbelief of the Jew has resulted in an opening for the Gentile to be able to get in, to be grafted in, what kind of glory is that going to be when they actually come in as a people? And that's something that Paul saw off in the future. I think Paul saw the same thing that we're seeing right here. In that day. That's off in the future still. So it puts a great anticipation and a positive hope into the future. I will make a covenant for them. God loves to make covenants. And he says, I will make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, the birds in the sky, and the creatures that move along the ground. Why? Because there had previously been a command issued to them to be against the land and to help drive the people out of the land and into a place of difficulty where they felt like everything, even the wildlife, was no longer at peace with them. Bow and sword in battle I will abolish from the land. So what is the land? This is in the Hebrew, the land is simply haaretz. Haaretz, the land. When we use the word the, like the king of basketball, we are referring to somebody with the idea of the king, like the babe. There's a way that we put the in front of something, and we mean this is really something that's tantamount to everything else, paramount, overall, above everything else. And so he says that he is going to abolish from the land. Now, what is the land? This is not specifically, generally, the earth. It is the land. It is the promised land of God, the covenant land of God that he has promised to a earthly physical people, Israel. And he has a promise yet out ahead of us that we're looking for. He will abolish them from the land so that all may lie down in safety. So we can take away today the idea that God has made an earthly physical covenant with an earthly physical people, and there is yet a day ahead of them where this is going to occur. This tells us that God makes promises and makes covenants, and he always keeps them. He's going to bring this about. What can we take away from it today in the meantime? What we can take away from it in the meantime is that there is a peace, there is a turning of our situation, there is a sense that the grace of God can intervene in whatever circumstance and situation we are in, and he can do two things. He can supersede any fear or any sense that we have of the quote-unquote gods of this world, any fear or terror of darkness or of the enemy. And instead, rather than wanting to call ourselves by the names of those which are upon the earth, Instead, we will receive a fresh revelation of God and will be more wanting to be called by the name of the Lord. And then we will find our circumstance and our situation touched by the grace of God and turned around. In that day, that has a sense, that holds a sense of the promise for tomorrow, where we can have a hope which is a positive looking forward to what is next. Some people dread that, but as we look here at Hosea 2:17 and 18, we can look forward to it. So we can come away from today saying, God has a plan to reveal himself to me and give me a positive reason to look forward to what is next in that day. So as you think about that, the Lord bless you. Hope to see you tomorrow. Have a great day.